That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.
Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Trade Talk, and this time we'll be continuing with No Man's Land. Only one more volume after this. We're reaching the end, but Batman No Man's Land Volume 3. Now I guess I'll say that this is probably the volume I enjoyed the least. Not that it's bad or anything, it just has the least stuff that I liked in it. This has a lot of Robin stories, a lot of Tim Drake Robin stories, and I just am not one who's ever really cared for Robin. So there's a lot of stuff in here that's just dealing with him, and I don't find that interesting. There's some other stories in it that I like, though. We get some, like, reforms of villains and stuff like that. The idea that No Man's Land is not all awful, that, like, it's actually brought the good out in some people. We get a cool Batgirl story for Cassandra Cain that I quite liked about her defending a gas station. That was interesting. You just get like kind of in her head more and get to see how she works and how she thinks and the stuff she has to deal with. That was pretty good. Larry Hama writes this story with Bane coming to Gotham and dealing with Batman, and he wrote the Mr. Freeze Batman issue from, what was it, I think the last volume. And man, I do not like the way he writes Batman. Like, it's crazy because I feel like the overall plot is fine, but God, he just puts the most campy Silver Age-esque dialogue into the way he writes these characters talking. And I really do not like that. I knew you would still be here, Batman. Your precious city has fallen into the long night, and the dark is your element. I prowl the night because that is where the evil lurks, Bane. I think you're in denial, Batman. You like the darkness. You thrive on evil. You're the one in denial. You're the one who thinks he's innocent, because you think your horrific childhood excuses your adult transgressions. Blah, blah, blah. Batman's not a talker like that in fights to me. You know, like, you know, in your 60s, and yeah, whatever. But honestly, for as 90s to early 2000s-esque as a lot of this art is, like, Bane is just impossibly large here. And keep in mind, he's supposed to be off Venom. Bane is just ridiculously proportioned, but it's fine. It's fine that he's ridiculously proportioned because he's Bane. But, like, I feel like a lot of the art here is getting kind of stepped on by some of this dialogue. And even then, some of the art is still just a bit on the ridiculous side. Like, there's a better idea of Bane's proportions. That's just inhuman. You ever see, like, someone take, like, Rob Liefeld's a pretty good example of that, where it's got, like, kind of ridiculous, exaggerated proportions, and someone will take it and, like, strip it naked or do the anatomy of what that would look like, and it's just disturbing. That's kind of what's going on with Bane here. This image is a bit on the comical side, but whatever. So I don't know, Larry Hama just does not do good dialogue for Batman in these fights, and it's too bad because it gets some really cool imagery. I almost want to, like, go through his issues and just Photoshop out the words and replace the dialogue or something. Anyway, so Bane's in Gotham for some reason. Someone has hired Bane to come to Gotham and do some stuff. And then there's this whole story with Robin and the rat catcher, and Mr. Freeze gets involved, and there's Stephanie Brown. I cannot stand Stephanie Brown. Just this whole thing that I did not find interesting at all, and I found, you know, just get through it, just get through it, just get through it. Get an Azrael story about him thinking about leaving Gotham but deciding to stay and trying to solve some problems without violence for once, which is nice. Get some character progression for him. If only I could bring myself to care about Azrael, but damn, the art does a good job of almost making me care, because that's fucking cool, as Azrael talks to a ghost out of fucking fire. That's pretty neat. Where the lights are burning low. Larry Hama again. And yeah, this story was not good. Someone's got power in Chinatown because they're hooking up illegal immigrants to bicycles and forcing them to generate power, which, is fine as an evil villain plot. But the way Batman finds out about this is because he sees lights on in Chinatown. I'm like, okay, so yeah, if it's like apartment lights or something, that'd be fine. But it's not Lowe's. It's like neon signs and stuff. It's just like, why would you waste the electricity that they're generating on that? It just, what? But yeah, I just get a lot of, I don't know, there's this background character, and she's like a gang leader, but Batman's working with her to try to clean up Chinatown because he likes her methods more than the other people's, and so it's his compromise. I don't care. She has a really suctiony boob, apparently. That's just kind of silly art by Paul Gulacy, Gulacy, Gulacy. That's just silliness right there. Like, did you get one of them suction cup bra things and put it on? Because that's just goofy to me. Because she's in like all these fights. Like, look at this action that she's going through, and it's super inconsistent then, because clearly here, if you look at her side boob, and that's about the best angle I can give you, clearly it's just the cup there. There's nothing like fabric wise attached to it. But then you look at like the side angle of her, and it goes under the boob and stuff, and that's just weird. It doesn't make any sense. I don't like it. I don't like her character design at all. And again, plenty of dialogue for Batman that I just do not like. And it's too quippy. This isn't modern Batman. It's very Adam West-esque. I can see Adam West delivering a lot of these lines, but tonally that does not fit with these kinds of stories at all. What else have we got? The Code, Breaking the Law. Oh, this is some of the Harley Quinn introductions. For those that don't know, Harley Quinn was, of course, created for Batman the Animated Series by Paul Dini and Bruce Timm. But she was not in the comics at all before that. She was completely original creation for the show. And so after that show had ended its tenure, while DCAU was still going on and stuff, they decided to bring Harley Quinn over to the comics because she was such a popular character. And the point at which they did that was in No Man's Land. It was during No Man's Land. It was revealed that Harley Quinn had been letting Joker escape for years, and she claimed that it was to test whether or not she was making any progress with him based on the kinds of capers he was pulling. And so now that No Man's Land has happened, she's given up her career, or she got out of Arkham with the rest of the inmates, and has joined up with Joker and his gang as they try to get their own territory in No Man's Land. I remember that whole background as part of her initial introduction to the comics universe. But in this one, we get Joker trying to take territory, which, again, I just do not like. I'd forgotten so much about how Joker was involved in No Man's Land, or they straight up are just, I never saw these issues before. But, God, I do not like Joker being a force like the rest of the gangs in No Man's Land. Like Two-Face, Penguin, Killer Croc, Bane. All these guys make perfect sense in No Man's Land. Poison Ivy, I love that she takes up Robinson Park. Joker, it bothers me because he's an agent of chaos and anarchy. He shouldn't care. He should just mark out his own little section of territory just to keep his name respectable, and that's it. But here he's pushing and trying to get more territory. And I'll admit, I like the way that they set him up as how he gains more territory as he's watching a gang fight. Let me just read it, because I think this is a pretty good moment. What do they think they're fighting for? Not for truth, justice, and the American way, certainly. And it can't be that they think they're going to take over this block because I want it. But I'm not going to fight for it. I'm just going to walk in and take it. So you got these gangs fighting for territory, and the Joker just shows up, and they both run away because he's the fucking Joker. And it's cool to see Harley on his arm. This is a great image of them. That'd be a good statue. But I suppose the interesting thing about this story arc with Harley and Joker and stuff is that Harley finds a book teaching you like how to get a husband, one of those kind of books, and she starts following some of the advice of the author, like, you know, never accept a date that's not made at least 3 days in advance. You're an independent woman, you have your own life and goals in mind, so you're too busy to stay over. You never have sex before marriage, blah blah blah. And so she starts taking the advice, and Joker goes from his normal can't stand Harley Quinn thing to, man, I really want my Harley around. Where does she keep going? Why won't she spend time with me? And that is enjoyable. I'm of the opinion that Joker does not give two shits about Harley Quinn, and I'll hold to that. This is a fun inversion of that. I like the idea that, like, I like the idea that Joker doesn't give a shit about Harley Quinn until someone else shows interest in her. I think that is an appropriate way to characterize their relationship. But I don't know, this was kind of cool. And there's like a henchman of Joker's who's kind of making a move on Harley, and so that becomes a whole thing. Otherwise, I don't know, it's an okay story. Certainly not the worst Harley Quinn comic I've ever read, I'll give it that much. Joker runs for president in this issue, president of No Man's Land. Surprisingly for me, it was not the issue with the very famous cover of Joker running, or Joker for president, vote for me or I'll kill you. It's not that cover. I don't know what that issue is. I've never had the chance to read it. Though I might own it. I need to look through that and see if I still own that, because I think I bought that just for the cover. And then we get another story called Underground Railroad, which is about a guy who's got some territory and some kids in his territory. He's trying to keep decent people safe. But he's running out of supplies, and so makes a deal with the Penguin to try to get the kids out, and does a death match in order to secure their transportation on the quote-unquote Underground Railroad. It all works out in the end, and shows that Penguin's not an awful guy at heart. Meh. Then there's the continuation of the Bane story, this time actually written by Chuck Dixon, so you know, competently, if nothing else. Where Bane is revealing what he's in Gotham to do, and the very first thing is to blow up the Hall of Public Records, so that if Gotham is ever restored to a proper city again, there will be no paper trail for who owns large sections of it, and there will be no way to prove certain things. So that's interesting. So he to get there, he kind of incites a gang war to distract Two-Face's forces, since Two-Face saw the value in that information and had it under guard. But this loses Two-Face a lot of territory. Oswald's figuring some stuff out. Very 90s kind of look right there. Things are happening, though. Things are definitely happening. So I like this story arc a little bit. It was kind of cool just to see Bane getting to do his thing. You know, this is where you get kind of the proper genius and the ruthlessness of Bane that I really liked. So that was fun. Then there was a really, really good single issue story. What's the name of this one? Because I really like this. Captain of Industry. I gotta give Chuck Dixon credit. He does know how to write a good story. It's just one of those perfect single issue, one and done style stories that gives you the tonal sense of what the fuck No Man's Land is like. And this is a great one. Captain of Industry, there's this guy who's got a way out of No Man's Land, and he's getting people to give him everything they've got to get out of No Man's Land, and not like food and batteries like everyone else is treating, you know, useful currency in No Man's Land. Piles of money, gold, jewelry, everything to get them out of No Man's Land. And he delivers on that by throwing them in a cellar And, like, this guy gets thrown down there, and then there's all of a sudden just these zombie-looking fucks. And he's like, oh, man. And then he kind of explains his plan, and you see his vault and all these, valuables he's collected from people. And you see his trophy girl kind of thing that, she's clearly not there for him, as this panel shows. It's like he kisses her and she looks over at the valuables. Batman's heard about this, so he's looking into it, trying to figure out what's going on. Shows up as Matches Malone, tries to buy his way out of Gotham, and is immediately attacked after he gets thrown into the same room by these zombie-looking things. Their first word to him is just meat, 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 as they try to eat Batman. He has to fight him off, and it's like, oh my god, this guy has a zombie pit or whatever. End of the day, though, Batman is able to rally the zombies and tell him, or get them to work for him, because they're not actually zombies. He's able to escape the room and let the people free, because they're just the ones that survived via cannibalism in this dude's locked cellar. And that's just fucking twisted. No more killing. It's over. You're free. They're crying. What's left of the human part of them is just that they've been reduced to, monsters. And then you have this girl that was part of the whole scam, and she kind of gets off and just let off into the streets of no man's land, but she doesn't have anything anymore except for the valuables that she stole, and she's on the streets going hungry. I need something to eat. Will you trade for something to eat? Aren't these worth a loaf of bread, a can of fruit? Aren't these worth anything? She's holding pearls out. God, I love that. That is a great issue. God, you can't argue with that. That is just good writing. Another one and done is Stormy Weather. This is a sequel to The Visitor, the Superman issue. I really like that, where Superman comes back to no man's land, but this time not as Superman to try to fix everything, but as Clark Kent to try to just help the people. This would probably go on my list of just really, really good Superman-Batman stories. There's the boys over at World's Finest should consider doing a review of The Visitor and Stormy Weather? What was it called? Stormy Weather, as the Superman No Man's Land issues. Because there's just some really cool Batman-Superman moments in here that are great. Like, I love this bit where they're both walking down the street together, and they hear different problems and run away in opposite directions, and we just get a panel of empty street, and then they just come back and simultaneously say, sorry about that. That's beautiful. That is total Batman-Superman moment. And Superman just asks, is there anything you need help with in Gotham? And Batman's like, I've got a plan. Right now, the only thing we need help with is rain for the vegetation. And so Superman says, okay, fine, takes off and leaves Batman alone in Gotham. But before he leaves, he helps it rain. I love that. That's a great Batman-Superman issue. Good stuff. And then what's the message about? This was an interesting one, wherein a guy was trapped in Gotham City before the bridges were closed and was getting visions from the city. I don't know, thought it was kind of weird. The art kind of wrecked it for me. It's just way too sketchy. I can literally see the scribbles in shading for Penguin's arm. That's not blended well at all. It looks cheap. It looks lazy. I don't like when art's that obviously sketchy. But anyway, this guy's getting messages from the city and being told to go to an angel, and he tries to give a message to Huntress and Batman before he goes, but he dies and then is out. Then there's the Lizard King, which is some more Robin stuff, where Robin ends up having to take on Killer Croc, and that's not really interesting. But the important thing that happens is Tim Drake, of course, has a family of his own, has a father, and so Tim Drake Sr. is trying to figure out where his son is, and Tim, almost dying in this battle with Killer Croc, feels the need that he has to tell his father that he's in Gotham, so if anything happens to him, his father at least has that level of closure. And as soon as he tells him that, his father immediately starts working his political connections, given that he is a rich man just like Bruce Wayne. Dude starts working his political connections and is now getting wall-to-wall coverage about his son in Gotham. And that means that someone's going to have to start doing something about Gotham City. It cannot maintain a no man's land. So possibly the most realistic aspect of Batman's no man's land is that no one does anything till little white boy's in trouble. That's I think that's pretty apt. Honestly, I feel that's appropriate. But no, I mean that's built in. That's been building up, that Batman and company is trying to get people to actually care and sympathize with Gotham. And now that you don't have Nick Sharp out in the world, actively working to try to diminish Gotham, you don't have people arguing against Gotham rejoining the rest of society. It's more believable now. There's as far as comics will allow, I'd say. So No Man's Land Volume 3 is definitely, I think, the weakest of the collection so far. But that being said, there's definitely some good in this book, and I still really, really enjoy it. There's a whole year of comics. There's bound to be some stuff that's like, and there's certainly been issues here and there. This one has the most of it, but if you're a Robin fan, particularly Tim Drake, you should enjoy a lot more of this than I did. So that's, like, it's not even that any of this is, like, just directly bad. It's just I don't care about a lot of it, because I don't really care about some of the characters. I don't find Killer Croc to be an interesting character. I don't find Tim Drake. Tim Drake just doesn't do it for me. I know, put me up on a spit, whatever you got to do. But it is what it is. So this one I feel is probably the most skippable out of all the volumes, but at the same time, you don't want to read just 1, 2, and 4 of No Man's Land. You want to read the whole run. Just do it. Just do it. Okay. And that will do it for Trade Talk. So everyone, thank you very much for watching. I hope you had a good time. I'll see you next week on that. Bye.
That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.